First of all, before I start, I have an important question. Does anyone want a free glass of beer? He's closer, sorry. I accidentally bought two.
It works okay if you drink and speak.
It probably works okay. I mean. Anyway, my name is Pärtel. I'm the founder of Pandora, formerly known as isePankur. Just first question, does anyone know what's that company about? Have you heard of it? Yeah? So basically, very short, we're a global beer lending company. We connect borrowers and investors across the world. We have customers from 29 countries. We have 80,000 registered users. Up till today, we have processed 180 million euros of loan applications and issued or managed to issue between the private people around 14 or 15 million euros of loan applications. So we're, on a global scale compared to banks, we're quite small, but in Estonia, we have taken roughly 10% of the market share from the banks. So that's kind of the background, and unless you have any specific question about that, I wouldn't really stroll into that area further. But in general, we're trying to, re-engineer banking or consumer lending. Maybe similar like TransferWise is doing in the payments area. We're trying to make the basic banking transaction much easier and consumer sort of focused. But that's all the sort of marketing fuzzy talk. So if you have any questions later on, I can talk a bit further. I was asked to sort of give a short talk on how we the story behind how we've developed over the years, how we failed, how we've succeeded, how we've raised capital, how we've grown the team, and how we've generally gone about trying different things and screwing up half of the time, but actually sort of trying to, in that process, figuring out if you're building a tech company, if you're building a startup, or if you're building just, if you're building something, what to do and what not to do. But before I start, I'd like to know sort of, kind of show your hands on, who's actually building your own company or product or app right now? Any entrepreneurs? I know you are entrepreneurs, so you should so any, so how many people? Raise your hands again. How many of you are thinking of doing something? And how many of you want to continue working at the company you're working for right now? Okay, so good news, we're recruiting as well. So just, send me an email, pärtel.tomberg@pandora.com later on. Anyway. So I don't have a technical background. We're a tech company. I'm the founder. I've created likely most of the whole, customer experience flows in the earlier days, and what data collects and the analytics behind credit scoring and marketing analytics. And the only thing I'm going to touch upon is really the marketing analytics side. If you want to know anything more about really the tech behind on building a product like that, then you can ask. I might answer. And if I don't know how to answer, I'll invite you over for beer and pizza at our office, where some of our people can tell you a bit more of what we've learned on the technical side. But my knowledge is somewhat marginal in that area. I just know that it's always always too late when we release, but that's I think a case for everyone, right? So which part do you want me to focus? How to raise money or the whole process? Is there any preference on what interests most people? How to start out, or how the whole journey goes, or
Programming.
What was it?
No, just programming.
Programming. I mean, that's the easy bit.
How to raise money and go through the whole process fast.
Lose money.
Personally, I would like to hear your story about what difficulties did you experience during money raising process.
Okay. Okay. So, money. Okay, I'll add money there, I'll add the personal experience there, and later on, I'm just gonna forcefully just talk about maybe some of the like exciting things that we're doing that most likely none of Estonian, at least companies based out of here, are doing. So there are certain areas which are pretty common between our own, all tech companies, and there are certain areas where we are likely on the frontier, at least when it comes to combining technology, data, and marketing. But there's also marketing story in that. Anyway, so we're by now actually 6 years old. So calling us a startup on one side isn't really true. We're just like a young growing company. We were founded as any company over a bottle or two of wine. It was back in end of 2007. I and my co-founder accidentally met in London over a dinner party. That guy was telling me all night about like peer-to-peer lending. There was a couple of companies like that in UK already. I was in university back then in UK. I've heard about it. Like I heard, and it was just the financial crisis starting out. Andrus Ansip in Estonia was telling that the rocket's going to launch. It's 20% growth next year. Reality was that the whole economy fucked up like badly, and Estonia dropped 20% next year. But it was really like the good old times still. Like banking was great, money was everywhere, but there was signs of fragility. And I met this guy who was telling me over glass or 2 or 10 of wine about this peer-to-peer lending, connecting people. He was also talking about Tesla Motors as well, but that's another story. Anyway, so I didn't really do much of this idea. Until like 2 a.m. in the night, when I just figured I just threw together a business plan. Figured that that actually it could be done, and that was the whole. So by the morning, I had sent this guy like a business plan saying that really the idea we're talking about, I put some numbers behind. This could be done. And the whole idea was to do it in Estonia, Finland, Sweden, and then combine the markets and maybe then roll out. The good story was that we didn't have any experience in the field. We didn't know anything about borrowing or investing. The guy was an investment banker, but that doesn't mean he knows anything about borrowing and investing. So it's just a field. So we didn't have any relevant experience. We didn't have any relevant experience in actually technology. Yes, he was had been a coder, but we really didn't have that background. We didn't know anything about marketing. We didn't know anything that was actually meaningful for that business. All our experience earlier and skill set was not really relevant, other than just to fucking get an idea and go and execute. There's really like nothing more to it. So if you don't know something, read a textbook. That's more or less, that's it. So we had this go-get attitude, but we didn't have like any relevant experience. And we started for the first, that was back in early 2008. And the first, months was really, we kind of tried to figure out what we're going to actually do. Like, are we going to buy something in terms of technology? Are we going to build it? Are we going to license it? Are we just not going to do anything about technology and just like have a WordPress blog or something like that? And it took us like 4 or 5 months until we found, who's now our technical co-founder. He's not here, unfortunately, today. When we found our technical co-founder, we said, let's just, freaking build it. It took us like 3-4 months to actually get it up and running. And it took us like 4 or 5 months to beta test it. Like it took us 3 months to build it, and then like 5 months to just not do anything and say we're in beta. Reality was that if you don't like set yourself a deadline, you're gonna launch. Then you're always gonna find those freaking bugs, and this doesn't work that way, and you don't like this and that. And if you don't actually have any experience in that field, your feedback on your own product is bullshit anyway, because you have no idea of what actually the customers want. But what we had done, we had copied effectively everyone in this field. So we just he went through all the sites. We just did mock-ups on that. We just copy pasted everything, which meant badly that we copy pasted all the crap stuff. So we copy pasted all the features. As everyone tells you in any kind of textbook is, people don't buy features, right? Yes, you need certain elements, so you need to release new elements about your product. But the reality is that whatever you do as a company or as a product, 80% of that is going to be ultra basic. Like, I don't know, WhatsApp, which was just sold. Like, I mean, how fucking complicated is that, right? They probably released a lot of great stuff, over the years, but the basic thing is you just text people, effectively. And when you're copying someone else and someone who's already on the market, we managed to copy tons of features. So we launched a product that was all the things. You could do a lot of random things there, which didn't make sense at all. But there was a lot of features. It was great. So so we launched. But it took a lot of time because you have to bug test it. But actually, what people wanted to do was borrow and lend. They didn't want to read the loan applications through an RSS feed on Outlook, right? I mean, it wasn't a real user story behind. Nevertheless, we did it. So we got to launch early 2009, like February 2009, by just simply deciding on a date, like we're going to launch on that date. And of course, even if you have 5 months in beta, it's likely that on the launch date you understand that half of your product is missing and nothing works and freaking out. But nevertheless, you agree on a date, so you have to launch on it. So that's what we did. But we didn't have any capital. So the whole idea was initially to have this, I don't know, anyone knows economics, Milton Friedman kind of liberal marketplace. We just bring people together, borrowers and investors, and they invest and they look, credit, they score each other, and that's how the whole marketplace will work. And there's no human intervention at all fully automated, nothing done by humans. That was kind of a great idea, but it didn't actually encapsulate human spirit on it. That some people are fraudulent, some people don't care about full automation, some people don't know how to use ID cards. So we forced our first years on a concept of pure automation instead, and which meant that in Estonia we used ID cards, which by now doesn't fucking work still. So I don't know, like mobile ID kind of works. So we built our technology on a lot of things that seemed great, seemed ultra secure, seemed meaningful, seemed like we cut out all sort of human, let's say, we cut out all old school things and we used the cutting edge technology. But the reality was that the product which we created wasn't really scalable because only 20% of the people actually use ID cards or know how to use ID cards. Only X% of the people want to go through long, waveforms. So what we did with our first product, we copy pasted SEB. So as the bank, I don't know if anyone works there. So we copy pasted all of their loan application forms, and we copy pasted the payday lending company's credit scoring capabilities, as in none. So just everyone goes to the marketplace. So that was so we combined the banking process and a payday lending kind of quality, which wasn't really a great fit. It should be the other way around, but that's how we kind of set it up. But nevertheless, regardless of this, we started to work out. So we got some traction. We did guerrilla marketing the first days. We had no budget for marketing, so we registered in every single forum in Estonia. There's actually 40,000 forums, right? There's 40,000, no, 2,000 forums, sorry. So registered every single forum has probably a user called P. Tomberg. So I don't know if any random forum, go and check out. I mean, it was probably around February 2009 that P. Tomberg signed up. So we registered in every single forum, and when we launched, we started making posts like, hey, it was called Sõbra Laen back then, a name that didn't last long. That hey, we launched this product, come and check it out. We read in newspapers in the comments section, when I don't know. We started let's say there was a story about Juhan Parts, not Juhan Parts, who's the fat guy? Ivari Padar was the financial minister, not a great fit for a finance minister, like, but anyway, he was the finance minister at that time, and you know, there was like news stories, Estonia borrowing money or lending money, and then we went like, you know, they should do it on several islands, right? So all our marketing first days was PR, whoever wrote about us, and effectively spam. And you know, screw it. I mean, it works. It's free and it works. So whatever your views are on spam, then you know it actually works. At least initially, it's not ultra scalable. But if you want to get something done, you can get it for free. That was kind of the way we started really early. But we still hadn't, by that time, I think it was like 18 months into the project, none of the founders had actually met in a single room. So it was kind of an Al-Qaeda setup. So I knew the guy who was, you know, planted the idea over, you know, the drinks. I knew the guy who's the technical co-founder. We had another guy who was a legal background, who owns a law firm. So I knew all these guys, but none of, you know, we never met 4 people at the same room. So they wouldn't recognize them on the street. So I don't know why that structure, but we wanted to get things complicated. You know, just in case, you know. And you know, by that time, we kind of start seeing that, okay, there's some traction behind the product. It's kind of a great product, you know, people use it actually, you know, but there's a lot of issues as well. The moment you go into finance, you start like quite quickly, you start understanding, you know, words like risk and fraud and internal fucking audit and this audit and that audit, and you know, so a lot of things you understand that people actually try to con you. Like you don't, you know, maybe if you run rate.de, then maybe some people, although the person is probably .NET nice looking, they give us 7 points to that person. That's fraud there. But in our case, you know, the fraud was actually some people, you know, losing money. So we started understanding the whole concept of just bringing people together without administrating is a pretty screwed up process. And we started, and the core product, which is actually borrowing and lending between the people, we had no focus there. So, you know, we started step by step sort of trying to figure things out on the way, you know, and it was already like 6 or like a year we had launched a product, and only after a year we actually started thinking about the core product. And the one was, yep?
Did you, during that first year that you invested all other applications, did you use only like your money, or you already have raised some money?
That was all, you know, own money. That was purely own money, and it was until early 2010 when we raised money. But it was, some ways, it's not. I mean, if I would start right now, I wouldn't do it again, right? I wouldn't raise that little money. So if you raise money, like raise big. Otherwise, like screw it, don't do it. We raised like a friends and family round, like of 75,000 euro. In 2010, we spoke with a lot of people. I had Yuri Mois insult me over the phone call, like calling me a thief and a liar. I don't know why. I mean, I just said hi, Yuri, and like boom, you know, you're calling people. So we raised, we spoke with a lot of people in Estonia, and we, you know, raised 75,000 euros of like effectively pocket money these days. I don't know what. We launched. We, let's say, conceived, our first night was on end of 2007, but we launched in 2009, February. So we started like, I came back into, I was in UK back then, I came back to Estonia in summer of 2009. Only after we launched, I decided that actually I want to be an entrepreneur, or continue to want to be an entrepreneur. Before that, like a career in London investment banking or management consulting seemed like a good idea. But then all the banks failed. So investment banking didn't seem that great of a fit anymore.
Why did you launch it in Estonia?
Another stupid move, right? So really, like, if you launch something, don't launch it here. A, we didn't have experience. B, a lot of other things, and then we'll pick the smallest market in Europe and launch it here. Because you think that knowing people helps you. But the reality is you know 10 people most, right? I mean, there's 7 to 10 people you actually speak with every day. And the rest of the people you share the same culture and you think you know them, but the reality is there's no, it doesn't really help you. So so when you're launching, don't launch it in Estonia for any, just pick the biggest market or the obscure market and go with that. But we just thought that we were gonna we launch something here, we test it here. So we use Estonia as a test market, and then we go to Sweden, Finland, and then we go to Sweden. But that's sort of it's kind of a really, not even cowardly, setup. So if you think you have a good product, there's no point to test it in Estonia. That Estonia's test results don't give you anything. You have a market which is overly internetized. You have a market which there's too many people using internet to make payments, and you have a market which is too small. So if a news captures fire, you have too many. Everyone knows you. You need basically a cover of one magazine, or just show tits, and you're already known entire the country. And if you scale, you never hit scaling issues. So you never actually test your product. You never test how to run a company in Estonia. So the last place you should launch anything is here, because the experience you get here, other than very whining, so let's say very critical customers, you don't also get a positive kickback. Yeah, go do that. That's a great product. You don't get that from Estonian customers. You get a lot of negative vibes typically. So that was a bad move, so to say, from our side at least. Yep.
So when you were raising your first money rounds, what kind of turnover did you have, or were you starting to?
Not sure if we had any. We had a plan, business plan. We had a nice presentation.
But for 3 years, did you have any customers at all? Did you do any matchings?
I'm not sure what's the volume. I'm probably we launched in 2009, so we were doing maybe 100,000 krona a month, which is 6,000 euros a month in volume. Our average loan right now is 3,000 euros. So that back then, so we're quite small scale.
What kept you going?
You know what? Just I think failure not to succeed keeps people going, and knowing that it actually is a good thing. So you get there are good customer feedback. It works. So you see people trading, and if you're starting out the company, if any of you are, even if it's 10 people using your product, it's still fucking much better than working for someone. Really, it gives you certain that someone is using your product, someone is writing about you. It's an ego thing. So, some people talking about you. And the moment you go into a loan or product like that, where the average customer journey is 3 years, let's say, a 3-year loan, you can't get out, right? So you already immediately put yourself in a place where you have to serve those customers for the years, otherwise you're screwed. So that's that kind of, for the first year, so we raised this at 75,000 euro. We started doing marketing, there was traction, but we never understood what is conversion optimization. I don't know if you know, but just check your stats and you'll see that you probably lose a lot of customers on stupid things. We started going into Finland, we started going into Spain, we hired, I'm gonna get your hand soon. We hired our first person, first employee, he's actually there, the guy in the stripy shirts. So we hired our first employee. The problem was that the business plan with which we raised capital, even this 75,000 euro, which was I was straight out of uni, so it was 1.5 million Estonian crowns. Seemed like a pretty, hefty sum, right? 75,000 euro doesn't seem much now, but if you're straight out of uni and 1.5 million on account, it seems like a decent thing. The problem was that we matched or we executed our business plan within first 6 months. So everything we had promised in the business plan we did in the first 6 months. And in the business plan, it more or less stated that we now go and raise another round, because if you prove that your concept works, you can't do much with little money. You know, you could, you know, do some things, but you can't. If you see that some things work and your team works, like you need more money. Otherwise, there's gonna be just customers or companies that come, copy, raise much more money, and you know, kill. And the fact that you were first in the field, it's great to tell your grandchildren, but it's not gonna, you know, have any effect. But what we did was like, we still have like half of the money in the, you know, on the account, and we started like testing different things, and we started doing like that project and that project and that project and that project. I was actually working then half time or you know, full time in a Swedish company as a director in one company. So we, you know, as we didn't have a much cash burn, we still had half of the cash left. We had executed our business plan. You kind of, you know, we didn't have a plan, so we're just trying a lot of different things. Then we, at one moment, started to figure out, yeah, we should do like, some people started sort of contacting us because peer-to-peer lending was getting into a vibe, or like, you know, there was hype. People started to contact us, hey, we want to license your technology, right? And we're like happy to pay like 200,000 euro. You know, it doesn't seem much, but if once again, you know, you're maybe 22 and you know, you raise 75,000 and then you can generate revenues of 200,000, it seemed like a great idea. So we went into a licensing deal in South Africa, of all countries. You know, tried to do that, you know, got our first money, then tried to do additional bullshit stuff. So we're doing pivots here and there, although our initial concept was to build a peer lending platform. So effectively we lost, so it took us, we did a lot of different things until actually early 2012 when we said like, wait a second, like what the hell were we doing in the first place? So right now we're doing business to business technology sales, which any of you, if you work in, I don't know which companies, but it's not ultra scalable like, let's say, it's not ultra scalable business to be in, to sell software or technology to corporate customers when you're a startup. So guess what, like no corporate customer ever wants to buy your software when you're a startup, because the likelihood of you maintaining it, even if you like offer the best service and you have like the best tools, no one's gonna buy from you. So the sales cycle is going to take you like 9 months, 12 months of ass kissing, and then you're going to do it all over again. So the feedback loop of improving your product and everything is going to be like disastrous. So in Estonia, try to find a person who can sell software to corporates. There's maybe like 3 or 4 people in Estonia I've met like who can do that. And these are, you know, there are a couple of people probably in this room, but there's really little people who can actually do that. And these are quite wealthy people. So if you want to build a company that focuses on business to business, you know, if you can't do it like that direct to that business sales, then, you know, I'd rather stop it immediately. You don't have the people in Estonia. But we tried to do that, and we understood after a long time that was the case. But within that sort of 2-year span, we had completely lost the focus. We had not developed our core product at all. So we had like, you know, stayed as it was. We tried to re-engineer it, like we wrote the whole technology from scratch from one moment because we understood everything we had built was complete crap. So it was just, just deleted, but we didn't have a scope, so it was a never-ending story until we finally understood, like, hey, like, we need to get back to our roots. So it was early 2012. We decided that screw it, like, we need to start scaling down on our activities. We shouldn't do that project and that project and that project. And we started going back to focusing on the initial idea. And it still took us 9 months until October 2012, when we relaunched our product, which was in some cases much more basic than the initial product. It was based on actual data on how customers use our products, so how they go through the setup, instead of our ideas of how many features you have to have and copying other things. And like a simple relaunch, like the next one, within 1 month, we had increased for the first time in like 18 months our volume 3 times. And next month, additional 2 times, and it just like started growing. So we have grown since October 2012 on average like 20% month on month, and purely like, you know, purely product driven. And 1st of January 2013, we had 1 person in the team. Right now, I think we have 34 people from 13 different countries, and, you know, I don't know, 15 different languages. And yep.
So how many developers were involved building up it?
One, two. I don't know, 2. There was actually that was a kind of weird thing even now, and that's hurting us a bit right now. So we have a very competent tech co-founder. We recruited Hannes. He was still, I don't know, 2nd year in uni or something like that for a front-end guy. Then we recruited 2 senior engineers in early 2011 or mid 2011, but we started to put them to another project, which we killed off after 6 months or something like that. So although we were we had a, you know, purely tech-focused company and purely, you know, pretty much automated setup, we didn't have any developers. And in end of October 2012, when we had relaunched our product, and it, you know, it's pretty good feel if your product just suddenly starts to increase and actually people come through and, you know, actually, like, it fucking works finally. Like, you know, like, it took us 4 years or 3 years, I don't know, like, it's long time it took us, and it starts like tick, 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 scaling up. Then we decided, you know, another loop, that instead of focusing on technology first, we had, like, for the first years done, let's do invest a lot in technology, build like some great tools and the underlying setup. It was that, like, just freaking do something and automate later. So from January 2013, we had the strategy of like marketing and sales first. So let's just freaking use whatever product we have. Let's like tweak it the ways we can tweak it, but push marketing and sales first and really see that you can get scale with your existing product. Because likely is that if you can't get scale with your existing product, then small tweaks and improvements are not going to change anything. You know, you need to really reinvent. So we started hiring more and more people. At one stage, we started to run out of money. I'm going to talk about the money raising bit in the end. So we started the whole 2014. We grew 10 times in a year. So we had in September. So I don't know if you can. If you look at our statistics page on our website, then here we have February 2009. Here we have something around, what's that? You know, October 2012, and here we have where are we? Like, I don't know, April maybe. 2014. Then was that basically, look at those stats. Then that was the accumulated loan volume. And then it goes like, whoops, basically like that. So here, in a single day, we issue more loans than we had issued up to here. Something like that. And that's purely sort of, you know, we put a lot of in marketing as well recently, but primarily fully on the product side. So just that all the knowledge we actually had already in this place, we just never implemented.
In which countries?
We have investors from every country in Europe. Primarily Germany and UK, Switzerland, and Scandinavian countries.
You did marketing in Germany?
No, we've never spent. Okay, now it's a lie actually. We've spent 3,000 euros, 4,000 euros on in marketing to investors, but most of the funding coming in is purely PR. So if you're in a niche, we're in the total of entire world, there's like 13 companies like you, then, you know, those blogs are, you know, quite well read. And if you have people using your site who have 1 million plus of net worth, then if they place maybe 5% of their capital on your site, then it's already like 50,000 euros. You don't have to have like a lot of elements. But we have investors from every country in Europe, and we have borrowers from Estonia, Spain, Finland and Slovakia. So we have kind of like a weird, effectively a weird mix. But we're trying to combine everyone, across Europe. And over the sort of, over the last, year, effectively when we started to scale, we've been, dealing with a lot of scaling issues. Tons of scaling issues that we're right now facing as well constantly. Is that we started to, we had this like sales and operations come first strategy effectively. So instead of hiring developers, we said like, screw it. I mean, let's just hire people to actually do work directly with the customers. And it worked for a while. I mean, the growth of the staff and the growth of the company was really good. But from one moment onwards, it's hard to say to developers. I mean, initially it just seems like if one developer costs you like 4 or 5 people, right? Then you kind of feel like, ooh, why should I do that, right? So, why should I bring in automation that I don't know even what to automate? So we instead we brought in like, just support staff, sales staff, etc. But from one moment onwards, where the developer's value kicks in is that you can put like, if you already have 15 people working on something, you add like 10 more, it doesn't change anything. You add like 20 more, it doesn't change anything. And the moment you go to big countries, and that was relevant to why starting in Estonia is a bad idea, the moment you go to big countries, you actually understand that scale will kill you. Like scaling in a big market can kill you completely. And it can like affect your business in a way that you cannot do anything else anymore. So when we launched in Spain, we had in a single day more applications than from Estonia over the last, I don't know, maybe year. So if you have like 2,000 people hit your pipeline in a day, everyone wanting, I don't know, 3,000 euros of cash, so you had like, I don't know how many million of loan applications come in a day. So you're not able to process them. Those 2,000 people are unhappy. 2,000 people unhappy on internet has a pretty footprint, right? Especially they call you in. So you're basically, by just the fact that you're successful on something, you can completely kill your business. Because you might not cope with any more after that. You might be completely distressed. So we started seeing the value of the things of actually you always underestimate what scale brings you. So the problems that the scale brings you and that you counter. So we get to right now where we are right now. So we're now in a setup where we're processing like 25 million euros of loan applications a month. We have 85,000 people, I think, in registered. And our biggest issue right now is actually growing the team fast enough to actually be able to service all of those areas. So we're right now recruiting 7 developers, I think. So I don't know if you really want to switch them. We're looking for like .NET developers and database modelers and front-end developers. But the main issues we're right now facing is that if you get a good product, but in the financial sector where you have to do a lot of data modeling and risk modeling and a lot of setups there, there's really nothing you can do with little budgets. You actually have to scale up, you have to raise capital, you have to build a big team to actually be successful. And our biggest challenge right now is to bring enough people to work on it. Yeah?
Do you do any manual work right now when processing the application?
Yes.
So this is your main problem with scaling, not
yes.
Not the technical.
Yeah, technical elements are not. So just to the problem with scaling right now we're facing is how to automate things that on the first point you don't know how to automate. So you know that there's probably a better way, right? So you know that instead of one person looking at the application, there's you can find algorithms and technical solutions around there, but you need to technical people in. It takes 3 months. 3-4 months until most people understand the product that well. To understand all the intrinsic details about loan seems easy, but there's a lot of small things around there. So it's where we are really is like to find the people to actually automate most of the stuff. on the outset, it's actually a really simple, business. You bring people in, you bring investors in, you match them, and cha-ching, right? So it's kind of how the model works. But the reality is that there's a lot of things that you have to do around there.
So you're doing some background checks?
Yes, yes.
Fraud
Yeah,
checks.
yeah. So we have, we got 360-degree reviews. We do bank statement analysis. In some countries it's manual, but in Estonia and Finland it's automated or partially automated. So we parse PDF statements, finding data, and then sort of process them. We do different kinds of credit database checkups, and we do also different sort of fraud lookups, like looking at cookings, looking at IP addresses, looking at what size they've been, how they use the product. And finally, also we have a call with each single customer. So that's kind of the setup. So there's, in some parts, a lot of manual work. In some cases, it can be automated. And now we're at the stage where we see, okay, actually, everything can be automated. And they're in this market space where we are, like in lending, and in, for example, if you take a market like Spain. Yes, for everyone seems Spain, like why do you go and invest in a country like Spain? But Spain, like even if you assume that, like, I don't know, 30% of the people are unemployed, it still leaves more people than the whole Scandinavia, Baltics, and some other Central Eastern European countries together. It's just such a massive scale, so that the opportunities are really endless. So that's kind of where we got so far. I have a sip of beer, and then I can talk about how to raise money. Any questions on the background so far? Someone had a hand up, yeah. Sorry.
Actually, it's more relevant than it was when I was going to ask it. So you said that you have employees from 13 countries and a bit more than 30 employees, so 3 employees per country. And so, like, how does it like work out? What kind of challenge do you have because of the like many locations and?
We don't have many locations.
So you have people of different nationalities, but in the same locations.
Yeah.
So how many offices do you have?
One.
In Tallinn?
Yeah. So first kind of rule we made was not to have more than one office. It seems like a great idea to have like local offices, but unless you've done it, you're never going to be able to manage it. It's the learning curve of managing multiple offices is just too difficult. So it's easier to find. Thankfully, the youth unemployment in Europe is so high. Like, sorry, but it has value. So people are actually willing to relocate to Estonia. I don't know. I mean, it's like, it seems really odd, but there's some people here who've done that. So it's like, few years ago, it wasn't possible, right? Like right now, people are actually willing to come over, especially in the tech scene, because the hype around the setup seems like Estonia's the innovation center. You come here like you're in a different universe, right? So it really helps to recruit people. So we brought everyone here. We also have international investors, which kind of helps. So we have, I can go into that already. So we just now, early in January, closed 1.3 million euros, our first kind of official round. We have, I don't know if anyone knows Rocket Internet. So Rocket Internet, guys called Summer Brothers. These are the most notorious tech investors in Europe. And their private fund has invested in us. So they have companies like, I don't know, Zalando, they had CityDeal, which sold to Groupon. So their typical model is that they see something picking up in US and they copycat it in Europe and Asia and then sell it to the companies who founded it. So they saw Groupon in US, then they did it in CityDeal in Europe and then sold to Groupon. They did an eBay mock-up earlier. They've done like 3-4 billion plus sort of sales. So we just raised capital from those guys. We have a guy who's a founder and CEO of a stock-listed pet shop, online pet shop, has a turnover of roughly half a billion. also from Germany, and then like number of German investors. So we just raised basically German-backed fund of 1.3 million to to boost the development, boost the marketing, and boost the recruitment. And if you someone asks like how it is to raise capital, it's not that difficult, to be fair. It took us 6 months to close, but it took us 1.5 months to actually close a deal, and then 4.5 months to close it legally with the local lawyers and setup. So raising capital isn't that difficult, especially if you're in a market space which is in a hype. So it's it's so talked about. What we did when we were raising capital, we basically spammed all over again. It works really. Like spamming is numbers. Like if you know that there's a 2% response rate, then you have to just email 10,000 investors. It's that easy, right? It will take you a week to get the database together, but really, like if you want to raise capital, of course people say you pick the right investor, talk to the person, right? Find it. Like fucking it won't work because you don't know who's the right investor. You have no freaking idea who's the right investor who really wants to also come to Estonia. And every time you speak with someone who's you're raising capital with, ask everyone who's telling you no, do you know anyone else? And they always answer. So by that, you get them, and so you get the people who actually said no to you. We got everyone to refer us to another investor. So for those investors they referred to, there was already a personal touch. So we spammed the first round, and then the second round was already personal connections. And so it works, right? But the only good things we've done is spamming in the end, right? But it works. So it also helped that we have one of the Kühne Naglis here, one of the directors of Kühne Naglis, our board member and an investor who joined in 2012 through buying out of one of our co-founders. So we had full-fledged MBA type of a director helping us, build up the documents. So if you do something like invest in, creating the marketing pitch, and the rest is about just be bullish and speak to as many people as you can. But don't go and travel because it takes a lot of time. So if you can, if someone wants to meet, even if it seems like a great idea, yes, I'm going to go and meet that investor in London, fucking don't do it because they're going to see 10 other people. So don't think you're privileged. So try to do it over a phone call, try to do it over over Skype, etc. But speak to a lot of people. So we spoke, we started speaking. And if you have your first business idea, the crappiest business plan ready, start speaking immediately. Speak with the lowest level investors. Either the most difficult that that won't invest in you, or people you don't want to invest in you. But start speaking with whoever likely on the market to get that feedback, because every investor, regardless of how smart and great they are, they always ask the same questions. So it's basically just training. So you do one, you get the questions. Next time the next guy asks the same ultra smart questions, right? So you know the answers. And third time you already refine it into the pitch, and you have reworked your business plan. So finally it's fifth, sixth call or something like that. After that you might take 100 calls, but you're an automated machine. You're boom, boom, it's so big, it's great, growing. You're gonna start using words like that. But you need to start somewhere. So whenever you're somewhere with anything, just immediately rather go and start speaking with either your customers or investors. That helped us. The first times we were waiting, we're trying to prepare too much, never gone out and speak with anyone, and we never get into competing with, getting investors to compete. Every textbook tells you don't get investors to compete. Screw it, it's written by the VCs themselves or investors. If you want to get a fair valuation, get competition. In our case, thankfully we had a guy, I mentioned the director of Kühne Nagel, who coached us and helped us on fundraising. So we didn't accept a single word in the legal contracts. That's why it took 4.5 months, but we never accepted a single word into the legal contracts. So when you're closing a deal, you're going to sign an investment sort of agreement, you're going to sign like shareholders agreements, you're going to sign a term sheet, and you're going to sign likely like a warranty, like 4 documents. And we didn't accept a single word into any of these documents. Why? Because in that part of the world, or in that setup, every single word has huge meaning. Like a small thing that you might just glance your eyes over will have a huge meaning. You know, how the dilution is set up and all of other elements. So we're really bullish. We didn't answer the calls of these investors for a long time. So they finally like freaking accepted every single term, because it's investors' business to invest. So end of the day, are they going to pay like, I don't know, we got 4.5 million pre-money valuation, which is like 6 million euros post-money valuation, and we had almost, you know, non-existing revenues still. It was there, but as a small company, it's not really relevant, and the company is growing. So, you know, the valuation just, you know, on the paper, you know, made me into a millionaire or something like that, which kind of was for a moment good feeling, but it was purely on paper. But for the investors, for you, it makes a lot of sense. Is the valuation like 500,000 upwards or downwards? But for the investors, it doesn't really matter. It's like, you know, marginal element. They just do it for the gamble, right? More or less. So you need to really, you know, you really need to break the sweat. Don't take the first price, and just try to sort of negotiate the shit out of any particular deal. And you can like finally get anyone to convince to close. So we managed to close pretty early. It took us 1.5 months to, you know, accept the terms, and then we went on. And the really trick was that we just contacted every single one, and finally the people who invested contacted us through open LinkedIn. And the company, sorry, I mean, I don't know, hopefully it can be censored out. If not, then it doesn't matter. But initially the investment company's name, it was Global Founders Capital, right? And if you get Global Founders Capital, a name like that, contact you from open link in LinkedIn, it, you know, I don't know how many Nigerian emails you get, right? But it seemed like fraud. I was like thinking, nah, no way. Then I clicked on their website and looked at like, you know, Groupon, Facebook, Twitter. I was like, no way. But ended up actually like said, yeah, I mean, you know, it was actually a real company. Didn't like, and they were actually like the best investors in Europe. End of the day. But it was like, whoa, you know, that might be weird. And on the first call, they were like, yeah, I mean, you know, if you agree, we can send you the term sheet, and we're gonna wire the money like in 2 days. Like we're gonna wire the 1 million euros in 2 days. I was like, oh yeah. And then they sent the term sheet. Term sheet is basically just a summary of the terms you're gonna sign for an investment agreement. And they sent the term sheet. It was basically like, you know, you write here and all your keys, and your wife will come to us. So you get the money in 2 days, but it was basically sort of selling your soul. Yep.
Pärtel, you mentioned one advisor who actually became pretty much part of it.
Yeah.
How big a role have advisors played in the overall journey, and how much of it do you feel you have figured out on your own, and how much has been like just good consulting and pointing a finger in the right direction?
Figuring out on your own is overrated first. So if you can do without, then don't figure out anything. So what I've like, I have made a promise to myself recently that like if actually someone tells you that this is a good idea and you should try this, like fucking try it, right? Don't try to convince them. So up to now, I think like the major changes that we've done are really like a couple of good tips or a couple of good ideas. Like the simple, like single easiest idea that you have is just do like a journey analysis on your customers. Anyone doing like front-end development or any like, you know, product development understands, you know, what it means. But if you're starting out, it doesn't, you know, it's not that important. So some of the things we've done is really just the advisors have a huge impact. But yet again, advice is advice. It's, you know, people just go and throw your advice and then they stroll off. So people might just Google it. So advisors can play a role, but you need to find the right people who actually go in deep. So who don't like take a textbook case on that. So we, for one of the supervisory board, head of supervisory board, Chua, he was a guy, like a Portuguese guy, like a director, who actually, like, without any incentive, like he was a customer, found us through somewhere, without any incentive, went through like docs of Excels with me and told me like, you know, you should do, you know, try this way, try this way, try this way. So we had like 3-hour phone calls when it's just like, you know, from just being a nice person, you know, coach me on many things. And just by doing that, we scaled the company like 5 times by some small tweaks. So it has an impact. Figuring out yourself is overrated if you can avoid it, like avoid working in general, and outsource it to other people. But that's another story. Yep.
So you said you have 30 plus people and you're hiring your 7 developers here. So you're going to burn through your 1-point-something million in under a year already, I think. Are you raising another round?
Yeah, we are raising another round, and we're also sort of, the revenues are picking up quite nicely as well. So the cash burn isn't that bad. So we're.
Still not profitable.
It's kind of a choice. So you want to do this profits. If you're it's very easy to be profitable. Like just sell one ice cream, you know, buy it at €2, sell it on the beach on €5. You get a nice profit margin, right? But it's still not the company you want to build. So one thing is profits don't really mean, because being highly profitable on small scale is just still a small scale. So we were profitable until end of last year. After bringing in, most of the money we're putting in actually goes into marketing. So we're fed the media companies quite a bit. But yeah, we're not burning out through that much money, but we are raising more, because in order to do proper marketing in like markets like Spain, you need to, you know, put in 100,000, you know, 200,000 into a single campaign, just for that. Yeah.
How much do you deal with fraud, and how does it affect the business?
It affects quite a bit, and we have different tools for that. But that's like, fraud is like simple, effectively. Like just go buy a book on fraud. That's simple. What's more, I didn't have time to speak about is actually marketing analytics. That's much more interesting. Like we do, we are probably the only company in Estonia that does TV spot by spot tracking. So we know exactly at what time, which spot, what creative in TV brought us how many people. So these are much more interesting bits. Fraud is, you go find like 100 companies who are dealing with fraud, but it has a huge impact. So, you know, you have constantly, we have like 10,000 attacks from China every day on our servers, right? So, you know, if it was the Heartbleed moment, then immediately we had our own customers try to hack us, right? So just to prove a point, right? So it has a huge element. We're processing like 3-4 million euros of transactions, all in Estonia. It's not a huge amount, but as a, you know, effective a startup, it's quite a bit. So it brings you to attention of a lot of people. So you have to have a lot of different sort of setups and systems in place.
How big piece have the strategic investors taken from?
Small.
Small.
So we gave away 20%. We gave away, yeah, we gave away only 20%. If you like any textbook cases, that if it's, they're not actually strategic investors. Strategic investor would be someone who's in that industry.
Okay.
So it's not just money, but no investor wants to run your business, right? So if anyone's done it for more than one time, to understand if they take away, let's say 50% or a third of the business, they know that, yeah. So if they take away that kind of setup, you're not going to be interested in running the business after a while. You might be, but it still has a huge element. So it's for them, it's just one element. So yeah, so we didn't give away much.
You have 4 or 5 countries where you issue loans. How would you rate the security of these loans? Are they all same secure like here in Estonia, so you can legally take back the money?
Yeah, loans are loans. I mean, you know, banks have been in practice for 300 years, so it's not like really rocket. Actually, it seems more complicated than it is, because actually what you're doing is you're just optimizing and making something that's happened for 400, 500, I don't know, when was Bible built, like 1,000, 2,000 years. So it's the whole construct. For example, in Spain, the Consumer Credit Act is from like 1865. This, more or less the same law has been in place for 150 years. So the systems in most parts of Europe work quite well. But what's different is the data you use on people. Estonia and Finland is the most strict on using personal data. Like you can't get anything. In other markets, in Sweden, you can actually get a person's salary from a credit bureau. So every country is very different in that element. But end of the day, people are people. The Spaniards are not like some weird people that they don't pay back money. You just hear about that, but the reality is different. So people are more or less the same everywhere. They use the money the same way, their finances look the same way, but they act on the website different. Like it's a weird sort of example. For example, we tested that we had on the Finnish website, we added like loan guides and text with the loan application, and on the Spanish website, we did the same test, and we did like, for some people we showed it with the loan guide, and for some people we showed it without the loan guide, right? For Finnish, immediately if you add like more options for them to read, they immediately go and read and they don't convert. Spanish don't give a fuck, they want to apply for a loan, right? They just boom, cha-ching. Finns were like immediate, like, they went into sort of elements. So there is rather of these marketing elements that have a bigger impact. The risk elements are, different in the markets, but the marketing bit is much more different. Like what colors work and how the conversions need to be, and how they want to speak with you on the phone. So these are the more complex parts to handle.
Okay, and the last question.
Thank you. If you look at the global peer-to-peer lending industry, do you think, are you going to be like the Facebook of it or the MySpace of it?
So, no, we're going to be the industry. So I don't know. They're going to use our name to profile the industry. So if, it sounds a bit cocky, but that's basically what we're kind of trying to do. So we're still in some parts quite small compared to some companies, but we want to scale to at least 1 billion in volume on an annual basis. It seems big, but it actually isn't. It would be like a fraction of the total consumer lending industry. We're talking about almost the largest consumer market in Europe, right? So the whole market is like $2 trillion in volume a year, right? And that you can do as a consumer web company that you could tackle. So it's a pretty hefty space, and we think that we can actually do it. And then we believe that, our investors believe that, hopefully our staff believe that. We're trying to bring more people in. Right now it's a purely on to we find good people quick enough to actually execute on the learnings that we've gathered. Because what we've learned is actually that all markets, we have the know-how and expertise to actually execute a lot of things. We're trying to do everything in Estonia. It may be like a nationalist thing, but we kind of don't want to turn into a Berlin startup or a London startup. We think that we can do everything out of here, but we want to be the poster boy, so to say, of at least the European marketplace.
Okay, and thank you,
Thanks.
Pärtel, for this introduction.